Yay.
All
Here you
right.
go.
Hi, everybody. My name is Allison Sribnick, and I've been working in animation for 10 years with production. And hold on, I don't like my view. My view is like bad. I'm gonna figure out how to do what I want. Let's just do gallery again. Okay. So basically, one of the things that I have been really focusing on in my entire career is making projects. So I've worked for projects for Nickelodeon, Disney Junior, what is it? Comedy Central, Fox, Netflix, uh, Tubi, Lionsgate. So lots of different companies, worked in a lot of different kinds of projects, whether it was that they were CG or they were 2D traditionally hand-done animation where it was literally done on paper and pencil, where they like flipped and actually sent us like cells, which was really fun. Or it was Toon Boom Puppet, or it was just traditional digital animation. So I worked in all the different pipelines, and like one of the main things that I really focus on is I do a lot of mentoring of people who are interested in working in the industry, whether they're students or have a not like a bent for production, or they are already in the industry and they're trying to land their next job. So this is kind of like it's my hobby is to help people get into the industry and talk about not just the production side of things, but the psychology aspect of production. Because what I'm sure many of my producers in this room have had to face is the drama that comes with being the producer and not part of the creative. So, one of the things that I want to talk about are the different kinds of positions we have in production that you might not know. So, I'll start with just kind of the definitions of them. So, we have the production assistant. The production assistant is the role of somebody who they are the beginner. Sometimes they could even be almost like intern level. We have them usually help with like folder structure. I hate to say that we have them run coffee, but we do have them go get lunches if necessary for talent for records. But usually that's more of the live action side. We're kinder. I think I only ran and got coffee like one time when I was a PA at Nickelodeon. So they focus on that kind of side of things. They don't take notes. They are more in charge of organizing the file structure of the server and making sure that elements that need to be sent out or shipped out are put in folders so that I can ship them out and get them overseas. Or they're in charge of naming conventions or making Photoshop files or exporting out XMLs for Storyboard Pro from Storyboard Pro for editorial. They do more of like kind of these grunt level tasks. Then you have the coordinators. They are kind of the little mini lieutenants on the ground for each individual part of the pipeline, whether it is storyboard, it's design, it's shipping, it's post with retakes. They handle a lot of that. We even will have script coordinators who help with the writers and doing that, or writers' assistants that do that kind of thing. So they're kind of the next rung above the PAs. Then from and with them, they take the notes in the meetings, they deliver the notes to the designated parties, and they let the production manager and the line producer know when there are flags that content isn't, assets aren't going to get made on time. But they're usually not in charge of the schedule. The schedule and understanding the logistics of how long something is going to take falls on the production manager and the line producer. So the PM will train the staff, whether they're PAs or coordinators. They'll usually be the ones who pick who they want for those teams. And they also are usually in charge of shipping and dealing with the liaison back and forth with whatever the overseas vendors are, whether they're in Korea or Australia or Canada or India or wherever they are. They usually are the one that is dealing with them, and they're in those meetings versus the coordinators. The coordinators usually are not in the higher up network vendor calls. Then you have the line producer, and they manage the line. So their whole purpose is making sure the contracts are in order, making sure that the budget is maintaining, the schedule is maintaining. And if schedule conflicts arise, they're the ones who are going to move the schedules. Although the production manager is usually one who tells them that the schedule is not going to work out and that they need to like adjust it. So they are the ones who are like working with the showrunners. They're very, very tight knit with them. If you want to think that the showrunner is king, a line producer is the kingmaker. They're the ones that are really making sure the king is fed, happy, and is doing what he's supposed to. Whereas the right hand of the line producer is their PM. So if you almost want to think about it, we're like a court official in a sense. So, and then everybody else is just all thrown out wherever, whether they're the supervising director who's head of story and dealing with also the art and the visual and the aesthetic and all that. And then you have the art director who's dealing with like the whole art side. But the PM, the production manager, usually falls on the same line as the supervising director, the art director, or any like a retake director in post. I'm best friends with those people when I'm a production manager, because they're the ones I'm going to converse with to be like, hey, this is what I really need. Is this going to be able to get completed in 2, 3, whatever days? And it's that kind of thing. Then from line producer, you can have this middle area between the PM and the line producer called an associate producer. And basically, I don't 100% know why they exist, honestly, but it kind of comes down to if a show decides they don't want a PM, they'll hire an associate producer. The ones that have a line producer and associate producer and a PM, it's usually because the line producer is line producing on another show and they're double dipping into 2 projects at the company, which is very, very common and happens a lot. So they'll hire an associate producer who kind of becomes the almost like the line producer for that project while the line producer is working on all these other projects and going to all these different meetings for different facets of different shows. Above line producer is co-producer. This is usually a title that is given to like network officials because they are definitely not line producers. They just give us notes and then we decide if we want to do them, or the showrunner does decide if we're going to do them, or we have no choice and we have to do them, and it is what it is. And then above co-producer, you have executive producer. An executive producer is usually the showrunner. Or it could be a voice acting talent. So like, say for example, on Duncanville that I was on, Amy Poehler was an executive producer because it was Amy Poehler's show. When I was on Mulligan, Tina Fey was an executive producer because it was Tina Fey's show. Was she the showrunner on it? No, she just voiced on it. Same with Amy. So those are kind of the distinctions and the definitions of everything inside of production. But yeah, I feel like that might be a good place to kind of start to give you a bit of an idea of all of those positions. And if you're interested in production, where you would fall inside of that based off of what I said. And if you feel like maybe, oh, I don't feel like I'm actually the producer of my student film, but they're calling me the producer. Well, it's probably because you're not doing some task that you actually should be doing and it's being taken away from you by somebody else. So that's why I wanted to kind of break that down, because usually what can happen inside of student films is hierarchy, like disorder, where a director will start taking more control over the schedule or more control over the logistics. And it's like, no, 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 no. Like, stay in your lane. Let the producer be in their lane, because they have their brain and their logistical brain there for a reason. Yours was creative, which is why you're the director. So, and that's kind of the big difference between the actual industry and what you guys are doing, is that my supervising directors and art directors, when I walk into their room and I give them the logistics stuff, they go, really? We can't call that note. We really can't have that. And I was like, look, I told you you could have 120 notes. Call 120 notes and we can discuss if you need to go over. But they'll accept that. They will hear that and they won't fight me on it because they know I'm coming from a different place that they don't understand. Because they don't need to. They should just be creative. So, yeah, that was my little spiel. I can't hear anybody if you're asking anything. Oh, that was cute. You clapped. That's adorable. Michelle, I can't hear you if you're asking me a question.
Can you hear me, Allison?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I know it can be challenging to be the bad guy or the one who's making those deadlines and all that. Especially in student projects, that's also an issue. How are the issues students face in their projects now, like, with the issues you face in the industry, like that crossover?
The biggest issue you guys are facing that I don't face is lanes. So production knows that there is a distinct lane that they have to stay in. The storyboard artist and the story side know that there's a lane they have to stay in. And the art side knows design-wise there's a lane they have to stay in. So one of the things that I would say to any producer who's making a project right now is figure out who is stepping out of their lane. And what I mean by that is a storyboard artist is not allowed in a design review. So they're not allowed to give comment on designs. And a designer is not allowed in the edit bay. So they're not allowed to give comment on the animatics. So likewise, animation isn't going to go and comment on the design. Now, when you do need a little bit of lane like breaking is with the higher ups. So like the art director could look at a design and go, I really love this. But the supervising director could then go, I'm sorry, but this doesn't match the camera direction of what we need. So we're going to need to do an isometric view of this background. And they'd be like, oh gosh, man, another one kind of thing. Or a retake director could look at a character design and go, we can't animate that. That is way too complicated. So one of the things that I really focus on inside of production is how do I give notes that are production based versus leading the creative? My role is to guide the creative, not lead it. So for example, say I'm looking at a design of a character and I see that it's a 3/4 front and back. That seems perfectly fine, but I know inside of the animatic there was a profile view. And this is an asymmetrical character. I'm going to raise my hand and be like, hey, art director, don't know if we want to do this or not, but there is a profile view of this character in the animatic. We might want that view. And he's going to look at me with kind of this grump look. And then I'm going to go, well, here's the animatic. And I'm going to flip my laptop around and I'm going to go, yeah, there it is. And he's going to go, oh. And he's going to look at the guy who drew the design. He goes, can you do a profile? So did I give a creative input? No, I gave a production call. And that I knew that if we didn't do this, the result was probably going to end up being the overseas studio requesting a design that we could not give in the time frame that they would need it because we would be deep into other episodes and further along in the production pipeline. So by doing that, you might pause the creative flow for a minute, but what it does is it saves us on costly retakes down the line. And that's something that a PA and a coordinator and maybe a first-time PM isn't going to really understand. I sort of did because of my SCAD background, as well as making True Tale with Professor Rich. So I kind of knew what needed to be done. But most coordinators and most PAs who talk in these meetings end up getting really disciplined because they don't know what they're talking about 9 times out of 10. So you have to kind of figure out when is that door open for you to speak. And so that's the area of being the bad guy. So as a production manager, I literally told my coordinators and my PAs, I don't want to hear you. You're a Victorian child. You are seen and not heard. Sorry. When you earn your stripes and you are able to eventually speak because you now have the knowledge and understand how you need to speak, the floor is yours. But on my production, please don't, because I'm going to get reprimanded because you opened your mouth. You'll get reprimanded too, but I'll get reprimanded as well. And I don't like being reprimanded. Sorry. So be my amazingly talented Victorian child. And they all giggle and they always laugh until they screw up and they open their mouth. And then I have to put them off to the side and go, why? No, please don't. They're like, well, you did it. I said, how many years do I have on you? Don't play this game. So like, it's that kind of thing. Also, it's really important because I didn't speak in my beginning years because I was absorbing. So I was trying to absorb everything that was happening. So now I'm a line producer on a show and my showrunners are just like, go watch the animatic and give us notes, Allison. And I'm like, this is insane. I'm not a supervising director, but okay, dude. So I watch the animatic and go, okay, well, this is frame too tight. We should frame out here. This character is literally off screen when they're talking. So we should do this. Where is all of this data coming from? How would I, as a line producer, be able to have that information? It's because I've heard it. I've heard it in edits. I've heard it in design reviews. I can look at designs with my showrunners and they can be like, is this good? And I'm like, it looks hot. And everybody's going to go, what does that mean? It means the color's really, really saturated. And if I say something like that, they're going to be like, do you think I said, look, red, green, and blue, they are the hardest one for us to fix. I think we should tell them to tone down the saturation. Write the note, Allison. So you like, I wouldn't have been able to have said those kinds of things as a PM, a PA, or a coordinator. But as a line producer, we showrunners that greatly respect my opinion and what it is that I have to say because it's not coming from a creative spot. It's coming from a production spot. Because I know that if they make this call 3, 4, 6 months from now, it's going to be incredibly costly. They're like, write the note. So, regards to being the bad guy, figure out who in your team is breaking protocol. Figure out who is talking when they shouldn't. Just like I told my coordinators and PAs, you're a Victorian child, seen but not heard. A designer should be seen and not heard during an animatic review or even animation review. It should be the animators that are giving the notes because they need that moment to talk. The designers need their moment to talk. Everyone cannot talk and give their opinion, or you will never have a finished project. Like your film will never get done. You'll never see showcase. You'll never see awards. It won't happen. And everyone will be like, oh, it was the producer's fault. It was the director's fault. No, it was the hierarchy's fault. It wasn't the director or the producer. It's that nobody understood that there are lanes and you have to stay in them. And if you don't stay in them in the industry, you get fired. So that would be my answer.
To kind of go forward with that, I know a lot of us in here are introverts and it can be hard to, be a little more assertive with people, especially if you're doing a mediation or whatever it is. But like you said, like telling people when they need to be quiet, and that can be really difficult. What are some tips you have for dealing with that and those people?
So the one thing to keep in mind is why are you scared to speak? Fear comes from not knowing what to say, which means lack of knowledge. So you just need to either step out and do it and really experience the failure or the positive response, or sit back and accept the result because that's the way that it's going to be. You're only going to learn to walk if you fall. And so was I an introvert? No. I'm clearly not. But do I get really nervous? I mean, doing this with you guys, like at the beginning, I was a little shaky and a little uncomfortable, but now I'm like, okay, let's go. We got it. That's the way that things work in life. The reason why you are uncomfortable, even when like you start a new class or you start a new job or you get new roommates, is because of unfamiliarity. If you don't familiarize yourself by putting yourself in an uncomfortable situation, you're not going to be a producer. I'm sorry. The ones who are quiet, well, they don't make it. Like you have to speak. If you don't speak and you don't become recognizable and memorable, you're not going to land your next gig. And the best way I can really push this forward is my own resume. I have only applied for one job and gotten it. Everything else was through people recommending me. Nickelodeon, a development guy saw True Tale and was like, hey, pitch it to us. Zach wanted to go be a teacher, wanted to be a professor. I wanted a job. 6 months later, that's exactly what happened. I became a PA. From there, I then tried to stay at Nickelodeon and I interviewed on shows at Nickelodeon, but I just couldn't. The recruiter, he sent my resume to Disney TV. I applied at Disney TV for like Fancy Nancy or something like that. I remember way, way, way back. And then the recruiter put my resume over at a company called Wild Canary, which is, oh God. But I worked for this company and I worked on Puppy Dog Pals for them. And then, and that was a Disney Junior IP. From there, because I had connected with somebody at Nickelodeon on the week I was interviewing and just going to visit, he liked me and he sent my resume when I was looking, because I was looking for work and reaching out to whoever I could after I wrapped up on Puppy. He sent it to Bento Box, his line producer, who contacted me. And then I interviewed for Alien News Desk and got that position. And then from there, it led to Duncanville. And then from there, it led to production management on Duncanville. And then it led to being a production manager on Mulligan. And then from there, I applied at Titmouse, got that position, and when that show unfortunately ended after 6 months, they moved me over to Beavis and Butthead, and I became the post production manager on that. And then I got a call from a friend who was an animator on Alien News Desk way back in 2019. In 2023, she's like, "Hey, I really need a retake coordinator," because she'd now become a retake director. And I was like, "I'm a production manager. I'll pay you a production manager salary if you do the retake coordinating." And I was like, "Fine." 2 weeks later, I was promoted to the post supervisor and managed the entire pipeline for the next 6 months. Then I got a call from Titmouse because I had worked at Titmouse that they needed a production manager on a new show called Golden Axe. So I went over and became a production manager on that, interviewed and basically got the job. And then the job I have right now, I literally just contacted the owner of the company that does Freak Brothers and was like, "Hey, do you need any help?" And he goes, "You want to be the line producer?" There was only so don't talk and don't get hired. All of my friends who haven't had a story like mine, where their resume was literally sent to this person, this person, this person, this person, they struggle to get gigs. And the only thing I can assume on why they have this problem, quiet. They might be super extroverted when we're out in public. I don't think they are in the industry. So yeah, talk, be brave.
Hi, Allison. I know earlier I said I wouldn't talk about breaking into the industry, but this is a great follow-up to what you were saying.
Yeah.
Because earlier you were saying that obviously your PAs, they're Victorian children. But then the only way to like learn that language is, like you said, to absorb it. But then like I guess how then what makes a good PA? Like then what do you look for if you already know that they don't know things, I guess.
No, that's very true. So for a production assistant, at least for me, and I would have what I've seen is this has kind of been the case across the board for most production managers and line producers, is we are looking for somebody who is personable, so that they're going to be able to work within our team, so that they are not going to just sit there quietly and not tell us if there's something wrong or that they don't understand something. I'm looking for somebody who has taken notes in meetings or organized files. Before I went out to Los Angeles, I worked for a foreclosure law firm as the person in the morning who organized all the mail that came in the previous day and then was the receptionist at lunch. Just so you know, foreclosure notices are sent at lunchtime. This was the meanest thing they could have possibly. I mean, I got cursed out on the phone. I got a real thick skin real fast because when somebody has the police at their door and they're being evicted, they're not going to be very polite or professional in the way that they talk to you. So, I would get the comment all the time whenever I would interview. It was like, "Oh, can you work with difficult people? You just seem so sweet and kind and lovely." And I'm like, piss me off and find out. So, so the thing is I look for somebody who, one, loves animation, because you need to be passionate if you really want to get into this, loves the process of how animation is made, or is at least interested in it, has some understanding of Photoshop, because if you know Photoshop, I can teach you ShotGrid, FileMaker, Google Sheet, conditional formatting, Storyboard Pro, XML, exporting, Sync Sketch, whatever, Frame.io, whatever the heck it is that were being used at that time. I can teach you all of those things. If you have at least some Photoshop knowledge to where you can make me a lineup with layered characters all in a line and make you know that if you hit shift and you go, "Oh, there you go," or whatever it is, there's the line. I made a line. Oh, like, you can at least give me a basic line and a layering system. I want you. And then the other one is that personality and the kind of that energy. Some production managers want a quieter PA. They want somebody who's a little bit more docile and it's just like, "Okay, yes, sure, absolutely, I'll get that done." Oh, and I'm like, "Okay, fine, that's lovely." But I don't. I want somebody who's more outspoken and more energized. And so to kind of go off of what you were asking, what are the reasons on why you don't get a job? Because a lot of people constantly use the thing of like, well, if they didn't hire me because I don't have experience, and how do I get experience if they won't hire me? And I'm like, oh my gosh, please stop. But there are three reasons on why you don't get hired. And this, truthfully, it can be the case for creative and not just production. One, it was an internal push. Somebody pushed your resume forward internally, or you were somebody who was already at the company and you got hired. Literally my resume. So then the second one is experience, which goes back to what I said. Well, you don't have experience. How do I get that? So the experience thing is also something you can't control. You have no control over what you don't know because you don't know what you don't know. And that's just the way that it is. And then the third one is you didn't have the personality that matched the team. When I was a beginning production manager, I wanted really, really, really green production staff. There's a reason. I wanted to be the top echelon when it came to the production team because I was brand new and I was green. So I wanted green coordinators and green PAs so I could train them, make them exceptional, and then prove to the company, look how good I am. Now, my process worked. Now, sometimes this backfires horrendously, but I actually had trained a bunch of people, so I felt confident that I could pull this off. And then for even the show that I just wrapped up, my last production management gig before I turned into a line producer, they were all fairly green. Like the most was maybe 2 years somebody had been a coordinator, all very, very green and not competition. So instead, I just worked on making them exceptional so that Titmouse would want to retain them and all that kind of thing. And then began to have kind of this reputation of, well, if they're from Allison's production, they're a good hire. And so there you go. So it kind of comes down to those things: internal, experience, or personality. And those are it. Those are all the three reasons why you don't get hired. And every time I wasn't hired for a position, a recruiter always gave me one of these. You seemed very nervous. Okay, personality. Oh, it was just somebody internally that we wanted. I'm like, okay, internal. Oh, we were looking for somebody who had more 2D experience. I was like, literally my entire resume is 2D, but okay. Whatever you say. So, does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, for sure. I have another question, kind of a follow-up, because earlier you mentioned a bunch of different production softwares and like review softwares and stuff like that. As far as using those kinds of things on a student film obviously to prepare people who want to produce, but also maybe for a producer to prepare their team, like, oh, I want my animators and my biz dev people to be familiar with using ShotGrid so that, you know, when they're working hopefully on an industry job, they know how it works already and stuff. Like, are there softwares that you would point people to start using now, or?
No, to be completely honest, every software, whether it is a Disney or DreamWorks or Sony or whatever, is proprietary. So even if like you looked up and you Googled, okay, how to use FileMaker, Titmouse has a specific FileMaker proprietary system that you are not going to be able to have access to until you are a Titmouse employee. ShotGrid, Shotgun, whatever the heck it's called now, it also is proprietary. So Bento has a different system. Nickelodeon has a different system. It's all across the board going to be geared based off of whatever the studio wants. If you have some familiarity with the interface, that's incredibly beneficial. But 9 times out of 10, like what you guys are getting at SCAD is enough. You don't need to go in really hard and heavy on this because truth be told, 90% of your line producers don't. Most sheets are done in either Excel or in Google Sheets. And oh my goodness, whenever somebody tells me I like Excel over Google Sheets, how old are you? Like it's insane to me. I was like, so you want to work on something that no one else can see or work on at the same time. I don't understand your logic when we live in a very communicative environment. So like I make conditional formatting and spreadsheets all the time for all of my productions. And it's funny because I've even seen my coding at different companies. And I'm like, how do you have that sheet? Like, I didn't even work there. Like, what is going on? Everyone steals and then goes to another company and then retools it and reconfigures it for wherever they end up working. So the thing is you don't really need to worry that much about it. It's great in an interview to be like, yes, I worked with ShotGrid when I was you know, the producer of my student film, and we use Sync Sketch. Honestly, using Sync Sketch is probably better than ShopGrid, truthfully, because you can't really make a proprietary Sync Sketch. Sync Sketch is across the board the same, no matter where you use it or who uses it, whether it's the industry or it's a student. But ShopGrid's proprietary, so.
So my next question is, what can students who might be freshmen, sophomores, who are interested in a producer role or something like that, what can they do right now to start building their experience and to maybe build their resume, whatnot, for future employment? Do you have any advice for them?
Okay, so the best thing that you can do here is actually pretend. So say for example, you're on a project, you're not the producer, someone else is the producer. Okay, so you know that there are, I don't know, there are 50 backgrounds that have to be done and you only have 5 background artists. How long is it going to take them to complete this assignment? Okay, so your teacher tells you it's going to be like a month or whatever, but it never really is. So you need to figure out, how would I answer this question? Because this is the question I get the most from my line producers, where I go, can you not read the sheet? Like, why must I? So this is what you end up doing. You go to each one of the artists, or you literally start categorizing out what quotas they turned in every single week. That's usually what I do in the first part. So the first 2 weeks of getting data in, like getting the designs, I'm going, okay, so what I'm witnessing is we've got 50 backgrounds that have to be done, and I've got 5 BG artists who are layout, who are going to do this. And what I have noticed is we're able to complete and turn in about 7. Each artist turns in about 3 to 2 a week. But because of notation and all these notes and whatnot, it's coming out to about an approval of 7. We really need to get it to an approval of 10. But based off of that, that would mean that it's going to take us 5 weeks and we only have 4 months to complete it. There you go. It's as simple as that. All I have to do is tell that to my line producer. It's how I moved up as a coordinator to production manager, because I would walk into the management meetings and I would go, I'm looking at the quota based off of what I am seeing. It is this. We're going to need 5 weeks to complete when it needs to be 4. And then the line producer or production manager, associate producer, whoever, will then go, well, have you talked to the artist? Oh, I love this one. So then you have to go and talk to the artist and go, hi, so you need to complete X number of backgrounds. Let's say that they need to complete 10 in the week. So they got 20 in their entire like kind of thing or whatever. So they needed to complete 10 in a week. And they're like, I can't do that. I was like, okay, so you can't do 10 in a week. How many can you have done by Friday? Based off the complexity of this one and this, no. Don't do that. Instead, ask the question of, how many are you going to have outstanding come end of day Friday? If you ask them how many can you complete in that week, it's incredibly aggressive. You're putting them on the spot. But if you instead say, how many do you think you're going to have left over by the end of the week? There's something softer about that approach, because it makes it so that you can then go, oh, you're going to have 5? That's perfectly fine. Do you think you'd be able to get those 5 done next week? Yeah, they're not too complicated. I think I can. You see the difference in the psychology of that? The first one is, how dare you be behind? The other one is, oh, we can work with that. Yeah. So
That's great. And I was gonna ask, what are some like communication challenges you have when you're working with like teams? Like, how do you kind of get around that?
truthfully, it kind of comes down to a question I get whenever I am interviewed. How do you handle difficult people? I never give examples of how I handle difficult people. I explain why there are difficult people. Of course, there are horrible individuals who are just assy, and you just like, why? Why do you exist? Why must you? We're making cartoons. It's to be a feel-good experience. Why must you make it feel so horrible? You're the reason people leave the industry. But the truth is, it usually is miscommunication. It's misunderstanding. It's a lack of knowledge. So If you know this, what would you do in those cases? All right, well, you have to first figure out how are you going to communicate. Is this somebody who would prefer an email? Is this someone who would prefer a text? Is this someone who would prefer you knocking on their door and talking to them in person? Or is this someone who likes lists? Do they not like lists? Because lists have to give them anxiety. They don't want to see the schedule. They just want you to tell them how many things they need to do or what the numbers is. Or they want you to be like, are we good? What a terrible question. How am I supposed to answer that? I can't answer that. You tell me if we're good, Mr. Art Director or Supervising Director. You're the one who called all the notes. Now we're not good. So, it's that kind of thing. So what I always say whenever I'm answering the difficult question is it's just a lack of communication. And to me, the most important thing is communicating data that is necessary. That is the biggest aspect of it. Does somebody need to know the schedule? No, an artist doesn't need to know the schedule. An art director does. Do they need to know how behind we are? No, my gosh, why are you giving them anxiety? That's a terrible thing to do. Instead, you need to be like, you're doing so good. If you could get these next shots taken care of in animation, we will 100% be on schedule with you. You're hitting quota. The problem everybody does is they believe that quota is universal. Quota is individual. So if an artist doesn't perform and another artist does, and they perform at a higher rate, why did they perform at a higher rate? Is it they were just more skilled, or did they ghost their hours? Did they lie about how long it actually took them? I hate when they do that because it screws up my entire algorithm. But I do understand why they do that, because they get nervous and they want to stay in the industry and they want to be the best one and da 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 da. I did it too. It's fine. But the thing is it comes down to that. So if somebody is performing low, you have to first figure out why. Was there a death in the family? Is there something personally that is bothering them? Based off of that, you might need to have the conversation. This is mainly for indie. This is not for student. For student, you should do your work. If you're not doing your work now, you're not going to do it later. So the conversation I would have with artists who didn't do the animation when I was a producer back at SCAD was, do you want to work in the industry? And they're like, yes. I said, no, you don't, because if you did, you'd be working on your portfolio right now. And that's not what you're doing. They're like, this is not my portfolio. Then tell me what you are going to animate after you graduate when you don't have Toon Boom Harmony on your Cintiq. Oh, wait, you don't even have a Cintiq. So how are you going to continue building your portfolio if you choose to not do it in this moment because I don't know what you're doing right now. And they're like, well, you don't understand because you're not a creative. I said, truthfully, I'm not. It doesn't matter. I'm going to get a job because all I have to do is just walk in and go, hi, I like animation and this is me and I'm great. Don't you want me? I mean, there's my portfolio. So I don't have to make anything except present myself. You do. Why aren't you? And every time they would all look at me like I was the devil. Be so mad at me. And they would walk away and they'd leave and I'd be like, oh, there's the end of a friendship. And then a day or two later, they'd come back and I'm like, God, why are you always right? It is the most annoying aspect of being your friend. Like, could you stop doing that, Miss Nostradamus? It's annoying. And I'm like, what I do. So like it's that kind of thing. Miscommunication and understanding the psychology, the personality, how the schedule all fits into it for the individual versus the overall is the best thing to do. Because we offer OT in the real world. We pay people in the real world. For indie projects and you're not paying them, what are you going to give them? The reason why True Tale was successful, to me, it was successful. I got a job, Zach became a professor, we did pitch it around, whatever. But and most of my animators work in the industry and all of my storyboard artists are directors in the industry right now. So I'd say we did pretty good. So, but the reason why it was successful is because Zach and I focused on specialization and teaching and training and making our team look like we were a studio, even if we really kind of weren't. We were playing house. True Tale was the baby. So I mean, it was just all it was. Or maybe we were playing court. I was queen. He was, well, jester. That's what Zach was. He loves me. We're like siblings. But the thing is that's the big issue with the classroom setting is understand that if your artist is not performing, well, what do you do if you need the film to be done? Like when I was last at SCAD, somebody asked me a question. Well, somebody won't do their work and it's really frustrating and I don't know what to do. And can you do it? Well, yeah, but that's not fair. Do you want the film to be done? Well, yeah, then do it. But they're not doing the work. Okay, let them make the F. It's not it's their prerogative to do as they wish. There's no money on the table. There's no time on the table. They don't care is basically what this is telling me. You do. Take the piece, make it exceptional. Whether the film is successful or not doesn't really friggin' matter. What matters is did the shot you animate get you hired? That's all that really matters. The awards, the ceremony. Oh, John Weber would kill me. But you know, like it's pomp and circumstance. Your portfolio is what matters. So that, yeah, that's my long version of that answer. My bad.
That was incredible, thank you. Pivoting a little bit, I guess, and this is especially for people that maybe haven't produced that are in the room before, but what is an indicator that you should not go into production?
Oh, I love that. Okay. Because I have talked to students who have wanted to like be my mentee or something like that, and I get in one call with them and go, oh, this ain't gonna work out. So the way I think it is better to talk about, oh gosh, oh my Lord, I'm trying to be polite. Okay. The best way of going about it is this. If you are not proactive in your approach, and what I mean by that is there are two kinds of people when it comes to production. There are the chicken littles who just scream and screech, but have no idea what they're talking about. And the sky is not falling. You just got hit on the head with an apple. Calm yourself. And the other one is the Nostradamus. They literally are playing 3D chess when everyone thinks they're playing checkers. They understand the logistics of how everything is fit together. Like a perfect example, oh, well, I don't know if I want to give this, but honestly, I wrote this kind of snarky, harsh email to one of my overseas studios. And my showrunners sent me an email back and called me up and they were like, we just think that things are getting contentious and they're just so harsh and we just want to, we got to all work together and teamwork. And I went, do you have any idea what is going to happen in 3 months? Because they are fighting you on every single note and are making us come off like we're the bad guy, which is not the way it works. We're the client, get over yourself. They're going to put a big price tag and blame us for not being able to get things completed. So I'm just collecting everything that they've done wrong to save us 3 months from now. And they're like, oh. And I'm like, yeah. Oh, never mind. We love you. Have a wonderful weekend. So like, it's that kind of thing. The people who really succeed well in production are people who are proactive, that they can read between the lines and I used to say this is a harsh one, but I'm gonna say it anyway. If you don't smell anything, it means that there's a dead body and it just hasn't decomposed enough yet. You need to find the dead body every single time. And that's what your coordinators are there for. They're your dogs that are out there sniffing. And if you as a production manager or line producer can't collect all of the data that is coming in daily from them and realize that there is a problem before your coordinator calls it, because your coordinator doesn't have enough knowledge to tell you that there is a flag, that there's a dead body somewhere, we don't know where, and we're still looking for it. You need to be the one who is directing them and their attention. So like, for example, if I'm sitting in a design review and I'm noticing that the backgrounds continually, I'm seeing these backgrounds before. Why do I keep seeing them? Like, we should have been done with this. Why do we keep getting notes on these characters? There's a block in the pipeline? Like, what's happening? What happens if a coordinator doesn't see that? What if a coordinator is just going through the job passively? And 90% of production people do. They go through the job passively. They do what they are told to do. They take their notes, they deliver the notes, they do this, they do that. There's always misunderstandings, there's always production problems, there's always issues, but they just passively do the job. And then when they don't get promoted to production manager after 6 years of passively doing their job, I go, what did you expect? That you weren't proactive. There are no teachers in production. The teacher has to be found, whether it is that you're sitting there and you're listening in the call and suddenly people are saying things like, oh yeah, we got to get that ADR recorded. And we also, you need to have that online, and there's the mix. And oh, and don't forget, oh my gosh, did we do Harding on this episode? All of this data, that all these vocabulary words I just said, probably most of you are like, I don't know what she just said. Is she speaking English? It sounded like gobbledygook. If you are brand new in the industry and you're sitting there in a meeting and you're hearing this kind of stuff, and you just go, I don't know what that is. It's not my job. I go get coffee. You know, if that's the way that you want to behave, then congratulations, you can go get coffee for the rest of your life. Or you can write down, what is ADR? What is an online? What is a mix? What is the Harding test? What are they talking about? And then you start Googling these things. And if you can't find it in Google, then you talk to another coordinator or a production manager or the line producer, maybe when they're just you're waiting in line for the bathroom or whatever. Like, you need to find the teachers, because most people inside of production are some of the worst teachers I've ever seen in my life. To the point of where I'm like, how were you promoted? Were you promoted based off of nepotism, or was it a thing of just time? Like time, you just been in it long enough that they were like, yeah, just move them forward. But you couldn't train your staff and you couldn't teach, and you come, like, I don't know. It's bizarre to me. I got on a call with one of my mentees and she was in tears because she's like, my production manager won't tell me how to take notes. I don't know how to take notes the way she wants me to take notes. And I take notes and then she just grades all of my notes like she's a teacher versus telling me. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, she's not going to explain to you, because these are animation notes. Don't use pronouns. Always use the name of the character. Always say screen left or screen right. Give solid camera direction. If you are able to do a line number for a line, that's amazing. Make sure you have the script open. Realize the notes always start off in vague. Usually it's the view of itself with the cinematography, or it's the framing, and then maybe it's the action of the character, or it's the expression of the character, or maybe there's a technical. And as I was explaining all of this to her, she's like, this is an outline. I said, absolutely. To take notes is an outline. You just go through outline. Everything starts off vague and then it goes deeper. And you know, that's how it works. And then she got really good at taking notes. But her production manager didn't teach her. I did. I mean, it was just like, this is absurd. But she was proactive and she found a teacher, even if it wasn't even at the company she was at. So when I look for somebody who wants to work in production, it's not just a passion for animation. If you come into an interview and you go, I really like The Lion King, it really made a difference in my life. No. It should have been behind the scenes is what made a difference. You liked the behind the scenes of The Lion King, not the movie itself. I mean, when Don Hahn came to SCAD in, I think it was like 2010, I didn't really know I wanted to be a producer. I wasn't really sure until I saw Waking Sleeping Beauty and heard him talk. And was an executive producer on many of the best Disney movies, in my opinion. And I'm going, who is this man? What is this process? I'm sold. I'm getting carpal tunnel now. I never will. And I'm like, this is amazing. I was like, I don't want to be an animator. I want to be you. And literally, I walked up to him when he was roaming around Monty, and I just put my hand out and went, "Hi, my name is Allison Sribnick, and I want to be a producer one day. I hope I get to learn a lot from you." I didn't ask for a job. I asked for information. And what did I end up getting? He leaned down and he whispered in my ear, send me a Facebook request. And we became Facebook friends. And after I graduated, I reached out to him again, and he gave me books to read and told me about stuff. And then when I moved out here to LA, I went to his studio in Pasadena, and he gave me a whole tour. And this past year at Lightbox, I saw him again because they were doing the 25th anniversary of The Lion King. And I walked right up to him. He goes, Allison, oh my gosh, I haven't seen you in years. He's like, I know you. And I was like, well, yes, obviously, you said my name. And he goes, where are you? What are you? And I'm like, I'm a titmouse. I'm a production manager. He goes, wait, how many years have you been in? And I was like, I think like 8, 9. He goes, oh, and you're a PM? He's like, how long have you been a PM? And I was like, since 2020. He's like, what? How quickly did you get promoted? And he's like, oh, I knew it. And then he looks at the Bancroft brothers and Andre Dijon and the directors. He goes, this one. He's like, watch this one. He's like, all I did was talk to her and look at what she's done. And I said, well, truthfully, the thing that made the biggest difference in my life is the fact that you told me to pass it on. And I've helped over 100 people and get into the industry. That's what matters more to me than my years in the industry. He goes, this one. He's like, we're gonna see each other again. I know it. This industry is too small. So in response to your question, it's being proactive, find your teachers, be passionate, and get a thick skin. Or be passive and don't get promoted. Because the way to think about it is this. If you say that there are 1,000, let's say that there is 1,000 PAs working right now, and there's only 500 coordinators working right now, and there's only 200 PMs working right now, but there's only 50 line producers. Where did everyone go? That's my point. If you're not supposed to be in it, you won't be in it.
This is kind of the same question, but reversed, and probably more specific to SCAD productions. Maybe it could work in the industry, but if you have a producer that is doing a bad job, how do you talk to them?
Well, how are they doing a bad job?
I feel like usually on a SCAD production, it comes down to literally just like not tracking your Google sheet, you know, like not keeping up on deadlines, and maybe you're a lead and you're like, I don't have the brain for this, but I know something's going wrong, you know, so.
I would say that if your line producer is not, if your producer is not doing the bare minimum, which is this, it should be that they are giving you your assignments, or they are at least creating all of the assignments, and then they're giving them to either the art director or the director, whoever, and then they're divvying them out to like whoever needs them to go out to, because that's usually how it works. Is that the like I would sit with my art director and we go down the entire list of all the designs that needed to be done for an episode, and I'd be like, okay, all right, tell me, who do you want to do this? It's important that whoever your lead is, whether they're an animation lead or an art director or the director or whatever, that they have a part to play in assigning. This is important because if they don't understand the weaknesses and the strengths of the team, it's going to fall apart. It'll 100% fall apart. So one of the very first things that you should do as a line producer is give a piece of paper to each one of the crew members and go, tell me what your strengths are and tell me what your weaknesses are. And whoever is the leader, hopefully they've already passed the board, like they already are good. They should then look at that. And then you give them assignments based off of that kind of thing. And then from there, you then, adjust and you go, yeah, you're not very good at in-betweening, but you're good at keying. So we're just gonna have you key. We're gonna hire this, we're gonna bring this one in. They're gonna do your in-betweens for you. Which is unfortunate. You don't really want that. They want to animate their whole shot. It looks good in the portfolio if they did the whole thing. But like one of the reasons on why a producer doesn't do what they're supposed to is usually because they don't know what they're supposed to do. And it usually comes down to that. So assessing the assignments is one of the very first things that a line producer or PM or whatever needs to do. The next one is looking at the crew and how much content needs to be made based off of the people that they have, and figuring out quota-wise what needs to be completed every single week for them to hit the schedule. And that's it. That's literally it. That's all they have to do. I mean, as a line producer, I feel like a firefighter. You know what firefighters do all day? Nothing. Nothing. They just wait for the fire. Once the alarm goes off, woof, now they're gone. They're out there. Usually, they're working out or they're eating or they're doing whatever. But 9 times out of 10, they're sitting waiting for the fire. And that's what a line producer does. If you're not going to draw and you're not going to be part of the creative element, then you need to sit, assess everything that is getting done and the logistics of being able to get it done, and then call the fire when you see the fire and know how to handle it. And it's as simple as that. And it's why if you have a really good production manager and your line producer is more of a passive person, it works out really well in that regard. But yeah, usually producers just don't know what to do. And that's why, especially when you're a student.
Very nice. Since it's 9 o'clock, I think we should open the floor to other questions. Our microphone is corded, so if you have a question, just raise your hand and then I'll call you while that's here.
And if anyone on Zoom has a question as well, just put your little hand on up and we'll get to you.
Hi, I'm Jason McCardle. I'm a freshman and I do production management for two separate projects right now. And I pushed them. Hold on, let me go back. And I have three questions. So what are the best methods for handling scheduling conflicts? Or
Scheduling, hold on. Let me answer one at a time. So the best process to handling scheduling conflicts? Is that what the question is?
Yes.
Okay. So scheduling conflicts are usually due to quota. So if you have to create a lot of backgrounds or a lot of animation or anything like that, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to go, all right, well, this is what we had initially. This was the plan of attack initially. And then what we have found is that this quota is impossible and we cannot maintain it, which means that we have to make an adjustment. So in the real world, it's money. So we ask for more money, which gives us more time, which gives us more personnel, which gives us more OT, and that's how we get it done. In your situation, it's changing your film. It's cutting down extraneous shots that do not matter. That would still or changing a camera angle to, okay, say you have a car chase. God, I hope you don't, but let's say you have a car chase and it's happening and you need to do this. Well, what would be the easiest thing for you to do? Maybe you should hire somebody who is a 3D modeler to model the car versus you drawing the car. And maybe it would be in your best interest to just do a giant long pan BG and you pan the BG and it just rolls the whole time so that you get this view. And maybe it's better for us to only have one character. So we do a one shot versus a two shot of them driving like this, where you have to have the back seat as well. Things like that. Or maybe we go in tighter versus going out wide. Figuring out those things in board is going to save you the most when it comes to the background count, the prop count, the effect count, and the animation time count. Because if your film is 3 minutes, which honestly, I don't know what's wrong with you people. Why would you do that to yourself? You really only need 30 seconds to graduate. That's what it was for us. So I mean, to make a nice 1 minute and 30-second film, it'll be great. It'll do wonderful in the film festival because it'll be finished. So what you should do instead is focus on the time. All right, so say you have a ton of animators who are incredibly skilled at character animation. But you decide to do 3 giant explosions. Who's going to animate that? The reason why your schedule didn't work is because of what you presented. In the real world, we do money. That's the best way of going about it. In yours, change what you have to make. What's your next question?
Michelle's got our next question in the chat for you.
Oh, cool.
I mean, yes. You can also read it, but.
Oh, there's a question in the chat.
Oh, we can read it. Would you mind reading it out loud for us? So our
Okay, I'd like to know as a student where I can learn production management skills such as time and task management, communication skills, and the use of different tools. If you could share with us some ways or resources to learn these skills, I would be very grateful. There are none. So I love this question because there aren't any. So the best way that I can go about this is this. When you wake up in the morning, what do? You should manage what you need to accomplish. Do you need to do dishes? Do you need to do your laundry? Do you need to you can't manage what's happening in your life. How do you think that you're going to actually be able to manage a production one day? You probably won't. Although, there is kind of the goofiness of, they say oh, a beautiful girl, her bedroom is a disaster kind of thing, because that kind of aspect, which truthfully to some extent, when I'm really, really, really deep into a production, I don't even want anybody to come to my apartment. I don't want you to know. I was I can only focus on organizing my desktop. But it really is something as simple as that. Organize all of the emails that you have in your inbox. create folders for like, okay, this is for bills, this is for personal, this is for job hunting, this is for blah, 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 blah. And you go down and you organize everything. If you've got 1,000 something emails that are just sitting in your inbox, I'm concerned. You shouldn't do that. That's very bad. That's a bad PM. That's a bad producer. You should organize all of your stuff. You should organize, look at the syllabuses that you get from your teachers and figure out, okay, quota wise, what do I have to produce to be able to actually complete the syllabus accordingly? One of the most common ones is, say you have to do a thesis, like paper kind of thing. Or they're like, well, it's 4 months away. It'll be fine. I don't need to worry about it. The very first day I would do the outline. And then after that, the very next day, I would write down all the references that I needed to gather at the library. Yes, I'm old. I'm sorry. I did. So then from there, I would go and be like, what are the main topics that I want to talk about in this? I would go and I would work on this for like over a month, organizing everything out. So then I could just write it all out like the last month because I'd be like, boom, 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 boom. I knew everything. That's how you need to kind of live your life if you really want to understand production. Yes, you could always go on a show. You could always get an internship. Yes, you could always go do an indie project, but indie projects are so dangerous in the aspects of they will be emotionally draining. They will literally make you want to leave animation versus like stay in animation, because if there's no money on the table, then there's no like holding an artist accountable. The moment, money is on the table, then they'll like bring things in. So the communication skills, be a waitress. Go be a waitress, go work at as a receptionist, go be a babysitter, go do something that requires you to communicate with the common public, and you will do very, very well. And in terms of just like tools, I don't know, buy a planner. Like, the thing is most of the programs are proprietary and we'll teach them all to you when we hire you, and then you'll be fine. But really the best way to be somebody who's task oriented and management wise is to first manage your own life and then go from there. Like, one of the things I did when I moved out here was I'm very, very list priority focused. I told my parents that I wanted to be a coordinator in 2 years or I would leave the industry, because it just felt like that was the way it would work. And they're like, and I did. And then from there, like, well, what's the next goal? I was like, I want to be a production manager before I'm 30. And I got it when I was 30, or a little bit before 30. And then I went, I want to be a line producer before I'm 40. And I got it at 36. Yay. So, I set very defined goals, which assisted me in moving the needle of how I wanted it to go. So set your goals, organize your life, do it based off of weeks, not days, months, not years, and try to, and don't ever say this line. I know you all do. You're like, I'm gonna go to Monty and I'm gonna work on my project all day long. No, you're not. You're probably gonna only work 3 hours. What are you talking about? Like, you're gonna go, you're gonna talk to your friends, you're gonna go get food at the cafe, and then by the time it's 9 o'clock at night, you're gonna realize, did I even accomplish anything? No, instead, tell yourself I'm going to work from 10 to noon, and then I'm gonna go get lunch. And then I'm gonna kind of chill, and I'm gonna figure out if I wanna stay longer, if I wanna go back to my dorm and work on something else. Don't say you're gonna stay all day at Monty. That doesn't mean anything. It just means that you stayed all day at Monty. You didn't really get anything accomplished. I saw it happen all the time. I thought it was really funny when I was in Scotto, because people would be like, I'm gonna spend all day at Monty, and they come in and they wear their pajamas and they did an all-nighter, and I was like, what did you accomplish? And like, yeah, exactly. So, yeah. Sorry that I can't give you any more than that.
I still think what you said was great, but is this to ask a question?
Okay, cool. Okay, so I'll ask the one that's more general. So, hi, I'm Emma Watts. Currently I'm producing 4
5 productions, one of them being indie. It's a lot, but I'm okay. My question is for you, because you said that you were producing in SCAD and obviously you're still doing it in the industry. What is the biggest changes going from student films to now being in the industry, being in indies, being in like big productions such as the ones you've already done?
Okay. It's actually, it's the personal aspect of it. So when you're a student, it's a lot of please, please, please do this. Please get this done. Oh, I really want to be in the showcase. I'm begging you. Like, it's a lot of begging and pleading and like placating and doing your very best to not let your emotions just go crazy because you want to scream at them and go, why will you not just do the stupid thing I told you to do? Even the teacher's looking at you like there's something wrong. Like, why won't you just do the work? Whereas indie, it's all about like, I am so excited you're here. We're all gonna work together. We're gonna make this. It's all about morale. And who cares if it takes us 5 years? We've got this, right? Like, you know, there's this whole love thy neighbor sort of aspect to indie because there's no money. So everything is like, let's do game night when really you just want to go to bed. Let's talk about that last anime that came out. I haven't seen it. Now I have to go watch it. Oh, yes, let's be friendly together. Won't this be a joy? In the industry, it's like, you didn't do it. You're fired. Have a nice day. 3 strikes, you're out. Whereas in student life, it's begging, pleading, and going, you're not going to get in the industry. How dare you? Blah, blah, blah. A lot of snarkiness. Indie is, I'll be your buddy if you help me. And the industry is, I paid you. What's wrong with you? I'm done. You're fired. I'm blacklisting you. Goodbye.
That was incredible. Thank you. Can I have any other questions? I have any. Oh, yeah, that was outside. Sorry, I'm all over that.
Hi, Allison. My name is Julia. I'm currently a producer on my capstone film, and I really. Oh, sorry. Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi. So yeah, I really fallen in love with the process of production management, and it's definitely a road that I see myself going down. I wanted to ask you, as someone who's going to be a newcomer to the industry later this year, how do you market yourself when applying for these production roles?
The truth is that there really is no marketing when it comes to being somebody in production. It is all about just putting yourself out there. One of the things that I recommend to any of my mentees when they're first starting out is go collect all of the recruiter emails. Collect all the recruiter emails, and after you've collected as many as you possibly can, you're going to send an email out. And all you're doing is you're introducing yourself. It'll be something very, very simple. It'll be like, hi, so this would be mine. Be like, hi, my name is Allison Sribnick, and I've worked in the animation industry for 10 years, and I'm a line producer. I've worked in CG and 2D animated pipelines, and I've worked in all facets of the pipeline, from pre to production to post, and I am very interested to know if you have any open line producer positions. What I did is I answered 3 questions. I answered, who am I? I'm a line producer. What do I want? Line producer job. What will I bring? All of my years of experience. So please pick me. But the one thing that I will do when I do that is I will not put my resume on the email. Why? Everybody looks at me like I'm crazy whenever I say this, but there's a reason for this. I don't put my email, I don't put my resume or my LinkedIn or any of that kind of stuff on here. Instead, I've baited my hook. I want them to respond to me and request the resume. Then I know they read my email and they know who I am and that I've actually introduced myself. So what I will do is after I've written that email, 2 weeks will go by and I'll be like, hi, I hope you're having a wonderful Monday, Friday, whatever, or you had a happy holiday, I don't know. And I'm sure you're incredibly busy. I just wanted to check to see if you had a chance to look at my email. I am very interested in possibly working for your company one day. Nothing. 2 weeks go by again. I write another, hi, I hope you're having nothing. And then I write another one 2 weeks later, and it's finally something hit. Why? Because recruiters pay attention to correspondence numbers on emails. It's not the email that popped up first, it's the email that has the most correspondence. So if now this email has 5 correspondents, they think they're talking to me. And if my subject line is line producer positions at Disney or at wherever, and they go, wait, what? And they click on it and they realize they realize they've never spoken to me, and they feel terrible because I was incredibly professional and patient and passionate and proactive and all of the P's. And I basically, from there, they go, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. I've been so busy. Things have just been crazy. Do you have a resume you could share with me? Of course I have a resume I could share with you. And so then I share the resume with them and boom, fish is on the hook. So now when a line producer position opens up on the career site, because I always go, oh, please check our career site. Or they're like, oh, please do let us know if you're still looking. In 2 months from now, we might have something open or whatever. But you'll see the position will open up on the career site. You click on it, you apply for it, and then you send an email from that chain and you go, hi, so-and-so, just wanted to let you know that I applied for your open line producer position. Job number this, hope you're having a wonderful Friday, Tuesday, whatever. Hope to hear from you soon. Bye. And from there, you suddenly will get an email probably within the, like, either within the 24-hour mark or the 48-hour mark. They usually respond incredibly quickly on this one. And they'll be like, thank you so much for reaching out and letting me know you applied. I'm going to go ahead and push that forward to the producer, because the producer assists in hiring the line producer. It's very annoying. It's very weird. But that's, you know, that's how you break in. And truthfully, artists can do the exact same thing. Production is like, that system works for art too. Yeah, so that's how I've gotten it. I've gotten tons of interviews this way. Maybe not the job, but lots and lots of interviews.
That's really good advice. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You have another question?
Hi, my name is Maya Finlayson. I'm actually in the film and television program, produced for live action. I'm very interested though in starting to work in animation producing. What, do you see a lot of people who kind of flutter between live action and animation producing? As well as what animation skills and knowledge should I have going in so that I'm able to keep up with the rest of production?
So during COVID, we saw a lot of this because a lot of PAs and coordinators in live action could no longer work because all of the films they couldn't produce them, and animation went fully remote. So one of the things I noticed that I hated and it drove me crazy is the lack of animation knowledge that they had. It made it incredibly challenging to train them. They didn't know the vocab. They didn't know what a tween was or an in-between or the frame rate. They didn't understand why a prop was called a prop, where inside of a car should be called a BG. They didn't understand how to do character turnarounds or what we should call out for the character turnarounds. What's a 4-point? What's a 5-point? What's a 6-point? What's a 12-point? Like, they didn't understand any of this, and it drove me crazy that we hired these people. So that kind of answers it. If you want to float, which you will only be able to do so during the PA and coordinator route. So there is a shelf life for every single position, not as much in live action. Live action, you can kind of just sort of be whatever age and you're kind of good. But PAs usually range between the ages of 22, fresh out of school, and 27. And then you'll see coordinators that'll range from 24 to 35. And then you'll see PMs who can be 30 to 45. And you'll see line producers who could be 36 to like beyond. So like, you have to kind of think about that. There is a shelf life. So you can float only for so long, because eventually once you've climbed too high, you can't go back to another project. Like, the show that I'm working on right now is animated, but my boss really wants me to go into live action. He's like, you would be so good, and I want you to be a live action producer for me one day. And I went, he's like, leave this animation nonsense in the dust and come make bigger bucks with me in live action. And I'm like, absolutely not. No, because it kind of comes down to this. Who do you want to spend time with? Do you want to spend time with people who want to talk about Casablanca and the birds and Alfred Hitchcock and Groucho Marx and whatever else is on Hulu, Netflix, and HBO? Not animated, all live action. And who actors and all of that? Or do you want to talk about video games, comics, anime, Comic-Con, whatever's going on in the world of animation? We're like, Dungeon Meshi was talked about way too much on Golden Axe, I'll tell you that. And Haiku was big at Netflix during Harvey Beaks. So like every single time, and like I'm learning Korean because I'm K-pop obsessed. And so like I'm in good company because I have people who will be like, absolutely. Oh, you're going to K-Con. Oh, you have fun with that, Allison. Like, there's respect where if I say that to like my live action friends, they go, what is wrong with you? Why would you spend that much money to go? How much money do you spend to go see the movies? I don't want to go to the theater. You can go, not me, unless it's BTS's concert. So that's kind of the best way of looking at it. If you really love talking about animation, go in animation. If you would really like to talk about cinematography and film and theory, go into live action. Don't play the field, pick the one you want.
All right, we have time for one more question. So who wants it?
Oh, I'm totally fine with answering more questions. We don't have to go to 6:30. If you guys have more stuff, like I'll hang out with you. Oh, it's a 6:30. Haha. I'm on the West Coast.
Yeah. It's almost, it's like 9:30 here almost, but you know, if more people have more questions, we can totally answer them.
Okay, you can squeeze in a few more then. All right.
Okay, so this is my more, like, general straightforward question. So one of the projects I'm working on is indie. We have over, I think, 160 people on the team. That range. Yeah, a lot of people.
Okay, True Tale had 100. It was fun until it wasn't.
And we have, people ranging from, like Mexico all the way to California, to New York, to the UK. Now, it is extremely difficult to get everyone, at least because we're all remote, to not only do work because obviously it is not paid, but also to organize people and to make sure that structure is still being addressed and hierarchy, and also just overall making sure that we have our work being completed at a certain time. My question to you is, a lot of our issues come with a lot of people leaving due to personal reasons, or not being able to turn in work because of time, or not being able to talk to us directly because of it. How would you give advice to someone who's trying to do stuff like this?
Yeah, so this is what we did for True Tale, and it worked beautifully. So create a system of inside of Discord where you have individual chats that are specialized only for the animators, only for design. They are locked. They are only people who are allowed to talk in there are the animators and whoever the showrunner is, the director, whoever, and they give notes. From that way, you're able to maintain materials being turned in and being reviewed. One of the issues that you will face with indie, especially when the teams are all over the world, is the time difference. But if, say, Zach and I came online and I come on 3 hours before after he does, or he goes to bed earlier or whatever, I just write all of my notes on the design or on the animation or whatever. And then I would be like, but I would like Zach's opinion on this. Or Zach would be like, I would like Allison's opinion on this. Before the animator or the designer, whoever initiated on those notes. And from that, then Zach would pop in and he would do his thing, or he'd send me a text message, be like, Allison, please get online and look at this stuff. Everybody's waiting. And I'm like, oh God. just worked all day. What did you do? And I was like, you taught a class. So I was like, I've been in class like all day long with these people trying to like make them do stuff. It was hard, man. My life's harder than yours. You get to have summer vacation. I don't. And we have a lot of that. But it's that kind of thing. Create that framework. And then what you want to do is have a meeting every Saturday, every Sunday, and record it. Record the meeting where everybody is able to share their stuff. Okay, we're gonna look at the designs this day. Oh, we're gonna look at story. We're gonna look at then we're gonna do storyboards. Oh, now we're gonna do animation. Whatever. You don't want people creating things in a vacuum, and you want people to be able to have other people look at their work and be pleased with it and be happy with the response. So, you know, if we're looking at artwork and we're going, oh my goodness, this is so great. And everybody's going, oh yeah, man, it's awesome. Oh, hearts and high fives and claps and everything all around. That really builds morality. The reason why your people are leaving is there's no morality. There's no camaraderie in the creation. We were able to keep True Tale going for 6 years without money because of camaraderie. Which honestly, I don't understand that. That makes literally no sense to me whatsoever. I mean, that's just insane. I was like, but that's what we did. So that's kind of what you have to work on is creating that morale. Because and it's very hard on indie if there's no money. And even if there is money and it's very, very little, it's even harder. I almost think it's easier without money. Because everybody's just doing it as passion. The moment money's on the table, like, well, I want more. Why can't I have this? And I'm like, well, we're not the union. Calm down. I can't give you that rate. You don't want that rate even when you get in the industry. So I don't know what you want from me. Does that help?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Honestly, if you want to talk more about the indie side of things, you guys are always welcome to like send me an email or hit me up on Discord or whatnot. We can talk way, way more about the indie issues.
Two more questions from me. Are there certain responsibilities that a producer has to take that one may not assume on first glance? I know you've been talking about like all the like strategy and like working on that, but are there anything that like besides that, like below all that?
I couldn't 100% understand the question. Just speak up a little bit more.
Are there certain responsibilities that a producer has to take on that one may not assume at first glance?
Yeah, mediator. You had to be a mediator. And so one of the things that I say to all my mentees is it's fact, not emotion. There's so much psychology involved in production. So like when I got my position as a line producer, the reason I got my position is this is how my showrunners and my boss referred to me. Allison has such a lovely, bright, sunny disposition, but she doesn't take shit off anybody when it goes wrong. Sorry. But like it's something like that. Like you need to be incredibly supportive of the team, but when things don't go right, you don't want to be so aggressive on them that they feel attacked. And I think a lot of producers love to play the thing of, well, it's just business, honey. No, it's not. You're an ass. What are you talking about? Like, just get like stop saying that it's just business. You're not a nice person. The truth is, it's the coldest approach to it. Like, I'll give you an example. Read the room. That is the most obnoxious cop-out answer to why you aren't doing well is because you just don't know how to read the room. Well, why don't you teach me? And they're like, well, it's something you must figure out through trial and error and experience. And I'm like, dude, just tell me to be quiet and I'll just be quiet. Quit making this complicated. Tell me that when they say, does anyone have anything to add, that I'm not part of the everyone. Explain to me those kinds of things. So I think one of the important aspects of working in production is the fact, not the emotion. The psychology of it, yes, the tasks and the organization and the logistics and all of that, but you can't really understand those until you understand the psychology of your team. And that is something that you are going to figure out very quickly if you pay attention. Don't be passive in those meetings. Pay attention to the way of somebody's body language, how they're behaving. One of the things that I will say all the time is when you're a coordinator or a PA or your PM, you do not demand things. You go, can we? Might? Is it possible? You know, it'd be really beneficial if we could, but if you don't think we have time, I mean, basically you're like the girl who's like trying to talk to the really, really hot jock, but you know you have no business talking to him at all. You're just like, I know, like, I'm not a cheerleader, I'm a wallflower, so could you like give me a bit, help me out here, I'm struggling, man. So like, yeah. And then you become the producer and then you tell the jock what to do.
And my last question is, what is the most important thing to keep in mind when you're a producer on this project you don't have clear control over? Because I know a lot of producers are also creative, so they might have input. What's the most
Say that one more time. Speak really, really loudly into that microphone.
What's the most important thing to keep in mind when you're a producer on a project that you don't have creative control over?
Oh, that you don't have control over.
Creative control.
Oh, you never do. The best thing to do is I don't remember if I said this, but a producer's job is not what it looks like. I don't care what it looks like. When I was a PA and I was a coordinator, I'm sorry, I'm going off on a tangent, but when I was a PA and I was a coordinator, I was so passionate. I cared so much. I wanted it to look good. I loved it. It was beautiful. It was special. It was a preschool show, for goodness sake. I clearly was not the audience. Why do I care? My entire purpose is to make it possible to be producible. So I don't care what it looks like. But when I hit 30, I don't know. All of a sudden, it was like this chip like appeared on my shoulder, or I ended up with this armor of jadedness that I just like, I don't care anymore. Like, whatever, just pay me. It was, I don't care what it looks like. I don't care if it's any good. I don't care who the audience member is. All I care is that your butt is in that seat. You deliver at this time. I ship it out at this day. And everyone loves me and thinks that I'm doing so good because all I did was ship it out on time because I told you to do so. Like, all we care about in production is shipment and delivery. And that's it. Our job is to be strings for the puppet that doesn't know we exist. They believe they're Pinocchio. They think they're a real boy, but they are not. They're a puppet. And without our strings, they are not going anywhere. So that's kind of the gist of it. You have no creative control and you never should. And it'll actually make you sleep better at night when you don't care.
Thank you
Oops,
so
I went too blunt.
Do we have any other questions?
Anyone on Zoom?
Anybody on Zoom?
Okay.
All right, then we'll wrap it up for tonight. Thank you so much, Allison. For
Yes, thank you so
talking to us.
much.
Can you give her a warm round?
Oh, you guys are so sweet. Well, I want to say this one thing. While you were working, while you're at school, don't stress so much about finding the job. Stress about finding the people that you want to work with in the industry. Become friends with people that you want to do projects with. The way I got into the industry is through Zach. If Zach hadn't been my buddy and we hadn't made True Tale together, I wouldn't be here talking to you like this right now. I'd probably be a mom or a teacher somewhere in South Carolina. Oh God, the thought. But like the thing is, it's as simple as that. The people that you spend the most time with are the people on your production. It's not the project, it's the people. So if the people are suffering, but the project is succeeding, which is about 50% of the projects and shows in this industry, I don't look at that as a success. We all know that Spider-Verse is great, but the production was a nightmare for people, and a lot of people were put through hell. Same with K-pop Demon Hunters. It was supposed to come out way, way a long time ago. They were working on that thing because they kept retooling it. It's the people, not the project. So when you're working on your student film, realize that. Getting the award at the film festival or whatnot is not going to get you hired. Being a good person that doesn't cause problems at SCAD that I am never have to hear about when I'm considering hiring you is how you get in this industry. So I leave you with that. And if any of you are interested in one-on-ones, I think my email's floating around somewhere, God knows where. You can
Yeah.
all find it, you can all get it. I am always open to talk to anybody at any stage of their development process.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you guys. All right, it's Yom Kippur. I'm gonna go eat now. The best thing I'll